Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Korinna, your human design and alignment guide.
And I am Skylar Shea, your personal energetic guide, intuitive cheerleader, and high-level professional coach.
And welcome to Raise Your Freak. We created this podcast because we are driven to live to our fullest potential and want to share our experiences and obsessions with the frequency-curious individuals out there. We go live every Friday at 11:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom, so you can be part of the conversation.
I'm so excited about all of this because I love podcasts, but I always find myself wanting to ask questions. By offering you the opportunity to join us live, this means you can ask your questions in real time.
Each week, you can expect various conversations regarding all things human frequency, as well as support to help you integrate.
We understand the importance of tending to your frequency and engaging in topics as it helps you along your path to expansion and alignment.
Our goal is to help you feel a part of a community as you navigate your journey through this lifetime.
We look forward to connecting with you every week live at our Zoom headquarters, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I think we covered everything, Skylar.
I think so too.
Okay, let's dive in. Hi, Skylar Shea.
Hi, Korinna Elizabeth.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How are you?
How are you?
Good. Very good.
Good.
I'm happy. I'm feeling a bit spicy today. As we were talking about pre-session, and I'm looking forward to this conversation for sure. And yeah, just reflecting on some of the things that we're bringing forth in this conversation today around manifestation part 2.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you want to share with us what we're doing today?
So today we're talking about inspired action, which is a really big part of manifestation. Inspired action is not forced action. It's not take control of the situation action. It's actually comes from more of an intuitive place. It's inspired. But you're paying attention, right? You all of a sudden have this desire to, I feel like I want to go to this coffee shop for no reason. So you go and you meet somebody there and then you have maybe an engaging conversation, or maybe they inspire your next move. So that's really what we're talking about today.
So I'd love to just start off the bat by sharing how that actually comes through our body, how the process that actually comes from this. So basically what ends up happening is you get the inspired action. And if it's a true inspired action that's coming from your intuition, then what is happening is at very first, when you get that action, it feels good. It feels like almost neutral. For some people, it might feel almost like a fuck yes. But for other people, if you're aware of your human design with that emotional wave, it will feel more just like a neutral feeling. Then often what ends up happening, and this is where it gets really confusing, is that, and why people don't always take the inspired action, is that once that download of that inspiration comes through, often it will feel maybe a little illogical, like you don't really understand how that's going to get you to the manifestation, to the desire that you have, to or truth, whatever that might be. So that's hard because we're so taught to be so logical that seems really weird. Why would I reach out to that person, or why would I go do that today? That's so out of context from what I had plans to do, or whatever it may be. And then the other thing that comes through is that as your brain starts taking over what it's actually asking of you, then if it's something you haven't done before, it's probably going to feel unsafe in your body. And that's when fear can come up. And that's when the essence of resistance comes up. And one of our coaches or colleagues that we've worked with before, Haley Buller Cook, what she likes to call it is it's like your edge to your evolution. So it's meant to feel likely edgy because it's something you haven't experienced before. But what people get the most confused about is that they take that as their intuition and then avoid it, then don't do it. And that is where we fall wrong. That's where we go wrong. And remind it. So usually I'll give an example of how this has recently happened with me. I woke up one day and was like, I need to reach out to so-and-so who works at a big organization. And I was like, thinking immediately when I had that idea to reach out to her, I was like, that's so strange. Like, why would I reach out to her? And then I was like, oh, probably like to promote my workshops. Cool. And I was like, it's super out of the blue. She has no idea what I'm doing. I'm a projector, so I don't want to just put an invitation out there. I'm going to wait. And if I happen to run into her or give me another sign, basically, is what I put out there to the universe. And sure enough, I was offering a workshop later that week and she showed up to that workshop. She was there at it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to tell her that I feel like I'm meant to have a meeting with her and I have something to share with her. Now, so funny. I'm like thinking, oh, this is like to promote my business workshop. And so I do meet with her. I do share about it. And in that meeting, I'm at her workspace. I actually meet another woman as well. Like she introduces me to another woman because I think that you would get along with this girl so well, like blah, 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 blah. And so I meet this woman. And what ends up happening is that woman actually ends up booking in my high ticket coaching session. And so that was that divine orchestration, that inspired action that I originally received to reach out to this friend, to this person I know. It didn't really, at least at this time, it didn't have to do with me promoting my workshops at all. It had to do with me meeting this other person that I could never have even known that was going to happen. But by me following those links of inspired action, and I was like, I don't know if I should just totally reach out. So universe, give me another sign. Give me something that's for sure, it's obvious that I am supposed to follow this pattern. So that to me is a real life example of how inspired action comes through when you follow it. And it might be totally not what you expected at all, but it's not meant, like you're not meant to know what it is. You're just meant to follow the breadcrumb.
I love that example. And I love that you also talked about human design because being a human design guide, I always have to incorporate human design into everything. But you really talked about something that I really want to highlight. And what you're really talking about is your strategy and authority. And strategy and authority in human design is basically how you're meant to operate in the world and to help you make decisions. And when you're using that, to me, that really expresses a lot through getting into alignment, getting into flow, and using inspired action. So the fact that you had this download, I need to reach out to that person, but you wanted to gain clarity because you understood, sending an invitation might be a little bit it doesn't feel quite right. So you put it to the universe. Okay, just clarify this for me. Universe answered, gave you that opportunity. Then you're like, no, okay, this is clear. I love that so much because you understand how those invitations play a role in your life. And every energy type has something like that. So as a generator, for example, we're here to respond to life, but you have to pay attention and you have to be aware. You have to, especially when you're calling things in, especially when you're wanting to manifest something, whether it's a job, a relationship, whatever the case may be, it's really important that you're using that and you're following that to respond to life. It's whether it's through emails, through people, through billboards, through menus, through whatever the case may be, through ideas that people send to you, you can then follow that along. And you can, again, same thing, ask for clarity from the universe. Oh, I feel like this was a message or this is something to follow, but can you just clarify for me? And I swear to you, universe will always respond and say, yeah, okay, let's make this a little bit more clear that you understand.
I love that's, it's so true. Learning my human design has helped me with my process of manifestation so much. And like what I was saying at the very beginning with having that heck yes, I don't really personally get that heck yes. Mine is an emotional wave that I get. So it might feel like a no at first, and then it feels like a yes, and then it gets to a neutral point. But generally, like when the inspired action comes through for me, it is neutral at first. And then the thought processes start coming through to make it feel edgy or make it feel like resistant and that's then when you have a couple choices. You play with the universe. You say, okay, message received.
Yeah.
Now, how do I take that next action step? Give me the suggestion for the next action step. Or you just start like going towards the thing that kind of feels good to go towards. So one thing that I feel like a lot of people, including ourselves, have struggled with is when to know when to bring other people in to support us and invest in ourselves towards getting to that next level versus integrating and doing it on our own.
It's interesting because when we talk about manifestation, so often it's about us expanding, right? Whether it's we want to call in a better job, we want to call in more abundance, we want to call in a love life. This involves us to expand. Okay. It's because our current state, if we understand manifestation, our current state is not, it's not in vibrational match to where we are. Something needs to change within us. Our belief structure, right? We have, whether it's limiting beliefs or there's shadows there, something needs to expand.
Our identity in general.
Exactly. A lot of work, unfortunately, when it comes to when it comes to manifestation is doing the work on yourself.
Yeah.
And let's be frank. You say, oh, you got to do shadow work or you got to do XYZ. You got to fix your limiting beliefs. Everybody rolls their eyes. We're like, can I just get the abundance and not do the work on myself? No, sorry. I've tried.
Yeah.
I have tried. I'm sure you've tried.
I've tried.
I'm sure if you talk to people that are in this self-development, it's you can't. You have to be a vibrational match to what it is that you're calling in. If you're wanting to manifest something and it's not happening, you gotta look inwards. And so many people get stuck there. And especially when you're like, okay, so I want to call in more abundance. And so you're, okay, I'm going to do inspired action. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then you get an email of, oh, here's a workshop to do. It's a 10-week workshop about limiting beliefs. And you're like, ooh, that's fun. You click on it. It's $5,000. You're like, nope. What did you just tell the universe?
Yeah.
You're not worthy enough because you're not willing to invest that money into yourself.
Yeah. And for both of us, I haven't necessarily invested $5,000. My nutrition course, for sure I did. But so, yeah, I have. And so there are points and seasons and times where like a really high ticket investment might be necessary. But there's also lower ticket investments too. But the funny thing about sometimes, I guess, what I like really want to bring home and what I really needed to learn as a lesson for myself, and I see it sometimes still showing up with people that sort of reach out and ask for support, and I know they're needing support, and then they get the price tag, and the price tag isn't that crazy, but it feels edgy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like $5,000 might be way out of your price range right now. And you got to be a little bit responsible with how you budget your finances. However, at the same time, in the same breath, if it feels edgy, it's actually good. It means that you're going to invest in it and actually show up for it, because I've also done like low ticket offers where it's $60 offers or $150 offers that just was like, felt really, I should have done the $1,000 offer, let's say. And that one was really what was speaking to me. But I was like, oh, but this one feels safer. So I did the one that feels safer. And yeah, I got some goodness from it, but it didn't actually change or shift what I was hoping it and needing it to change and shift, because I needed to step into that next thing for myself. In the same breath, though, at the same time, we'd also need to give ourselves time for integration. So a trap that I've gotten myself into as well is I had my nutrition certification, I had my Reiki certification, and I was like, okay, I want to learn yoga now. Like, I really want to become a yoga teacher now. And thank goodness for my mom at times, because she like sat me down and was like, Skylar, like, why don't you use the skills and the tools that you have just learned, integrate those a little bit, and then after a little while of integrating those and using those, Then if you still want to do the yoga teachers training, or maybe there's a different program or a different thing you want to do, then do that at that time. Because sometimes what we do is we throw ourselves into certifications or into schools but it's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from this place of not feeling like we are enough. And so in my trajectory, I listened to her guidance. I started just with the nutrition and the hypnotherapy or the nutrition and the Reiki. And then within about a year, I acknowledged and realized, oh, I need to work on my own limiting beliefs. I have some limiting beliefs about actually showing up and being seen that is preventing me from getting the traction that I'm wanting to get with my client. Also, I'm seeing how hypnotherapy, and I'm learning how hypnotherapy could be beneficial also for my clients. So I took the time to integrate and actually decided that to add in more skills and to support myself, hypnotherapy was the next modality to learn for myself, not doing my yoga teachers training. And frankly, I still haven't done my yoga teachers training, and I have no care to do my yoga teachers training. And I needed that time of integration. So there's two lessons I'm sharing here. One is there are always seasons of needing to work with others because we are not meant to do this work on our own. We can't do this work on our own. And I think, Korinna, you have a really good story about that. But then on the other hand, too, especially when it comes to upgrading within certifications and within teachings and learning, make sure that you are integrating before you're jumping into the next thing and investing in the next thing, because that also, are you doing it from a place of an inspired action, or are you doing it from a place of fear and lack?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to hammer that home, that idea that, sometimes you need to do things for yourself, and healing. We are here to heal ourselves, right? And so there are going to be moments of quietness where we're doing the work on ourselves. And then there's times where it's, okay, I'm at my ceiling for my knowledge in this area. I've read 7 books, and yet something's still not shifting. So I need to expand more. And I am the classic hyper independent person. I've done a lot of healing and self-reflection, self-development, shadow work on my own, but I had a ceiling. And sometimes I was unaware of my ceiling, and it was in the spring. No, it was December. It was this past December. I was really struggling. I had moved into the new place with my partner, and I was really lost in, what did I want my business to look like? What do I want to look like? What's happening right now? I'm 42 years old, so midlife crisis, I guess you could say, I'm now reflecting on, that's probably what I was experiencing in this midlife crisis of, who am I? What am I doing? Where's my lack coming from? And I won a free session with Skylar. And it was like the universe shoved this in my face because I wasn't paying attention to the signs. And it was within that session that I realized immediately, my hyper independence is acting up again, and I really need help and guidance. And the work that I did with Skylar over the course of 4 months was the most expansive work that I have done to date. And I'm not just saying this because she's one of my best friends and she's sitting next to me, and it'd be awkward if I shamed her. It was genuinely, I realized very quickly exactly how much I needed it. And the price point was edgy, but I realized that it's so easy to go shopping. It's so easy to buy new clothes, to do things on the external.
And working out of just to hammer this point, and working at a spa before, doing inner healing at a spa where people are programmed to pay for their outer healing.
Yeah.
They have no problem. We as a society, as many women, have no problem dropping $300 every few months on getting our hair done.
Yeah.
Or $150 every 6 months on a facial.
The facials there are incredible.
They are very
incredible.
incredible.
Of value. However, like you said, it's so easy to do that. But when it comes to our internal aesthetic, we fall short.
Mm-hmm.
And our internal aesthetic is really what matters more, because that is what we're telling the universe. So if we are
It
coming,
also helps to shift your externals.
Yes.
So if you are wanting to look
Physically.
younger, if you are wanting to
Yes.
feel better,
yes,
by working on the internal, you are helping the external. You probably have to have less massages, for instance, or less like relaxation offerings
yes,
if you are figuring out and working on your internal more regularly,
Yeah.
consistently.
yeah. And so that's why it's important to like really take a look at when you're really genuinely committed to this, and yet you fall short on, ooh, I don't want to pay for that higher ticket item because it's out of my price range. Ask yourself why, and then ask yourself what's the message I'm sending to the universe? If I'm not willing to spend $1,500 for a 4 month coaching session, which like I feel guided to do it, but yet there's resistance there. Look at that resistance. Anytime we feel resistance, that is ground zero. That is the foundation, and that's where you start. Why am I hesitant in investing in myself?
Also, so many people often have like payment plans now too, and maybe they don't advertise them. So if there is something that you have been wanting to invest in for a while but haven't yet, or if a ping comes through to invest in something and it feels edgy, but then you keep getting that ping, you can't stop thinking about it. You keep seeing it on social media. It keeps coming through. There's a reason for this. So you should I would suggest to lean into this and see how you can make this work for you. So reach out to the person, see if they have payment plan options, see if they have maybe even exchange options. Like even like full disclosure with you and I, we worked out a plan that A, you were paying, but B, you were also offering a little bit of an exchange within it too, which helps lower the price point for you. So it made it more achievable and successful for you. One of the most genius things that Korinna just did while she was launching a new offering is she actually put it out there to the clients. How much are you able to spend on this right now? And making and figuring out what felt fair for both. But that allowed her to not push people away just because maybe their price point is much different than, say, someone else's price point. And there are ways to make these things happen for us that can make it feel more attainable as well. But you gotta put those steps through in order to do that.
And the big thing to hammer home is, because we're talking about inspired action, if you keep receiving these things and you feel that draw, and again, that hesitation is your first step to ask why. Why am I hesitating on this? It's really important to don't just brush it aside, especially talking about abundance. Abundance, we all want to be abundant, however that looks, whether it's more freedom, more money for more freedom, whatever abundance looks for you, that is a frequency. And it's something that I'm not sitting here doing this to you. I experience it as well. But what I also can speak to is my biggest quantum leaps into my next level of abundance has happened when I doubled down on myself and I really said, oh, I have some internal work to do.
Yeah. And so it's double downing on yourself and investing in yourself and investing money and investing time.
Yeah.
And so one thing I think that often gets talked about in the manifestation and the coaching world that I think is really important to dissect a little bit is this perspective or this concept that as soon as you invest in yourself, you get the rewards back. And yes and no.
Yeah.
So one thing that I have seen to be true for myself and for my clients is that if it is an aligned investment, if it is coming from a space of inspired action, and the investment is a good match, then generally, as soon as they don't even have to start the program yet. They don't even have to start the coaching. And there starts to be subtle energetic shifts that start to occur and start to happen. as like my Reiki level 1 online training, the way it's set up is that you don't actually receive your attunement to the Reiki energy until module 4. So there are 3 modules where I am, yes, sharing practices, just sharing wisdom and information about Reiki and about like our energetic body. And the amount that I see in clients and what they've, or students and what they've told me about the shifts that they experience from just those 3 sessions before they even get attuned to the Reiki energy is so incredible, and a testament of when you start investing your time in something, when you start investing your energy in something, you start receiving the rewards back, you start receiving it back. And from then an entrepreneurial perspective, generally what I've noticed too is that I've purchased business courses before, and from this in particular person, she's one that said on her podcast, oh, like as soon as you make the investment, if it's meant to be for you, you'll receive the investment back. And that's not necessarily true. You have to actually put the energy in and work in to get the medicine that the investment is offering you. And so there is a coaching program, for instance, that I purchased a couple months ago, and I haven't necessarily received the ROI on it, like the return of investment on it yet. But I also haven't finished it yet. So that is why I acknowledge that I actually am not, I haven't yet put in the full work to receive the medicine that it's asking of me. And so this is something to consider too when it comes to taking that inspired action on yourself, is that even if you're hiring other people or support to help you to get to that next level for yourself, they aren't healing you. You are healing you. You are taking what the medicine is that, or the guidance is that they're sharing with you, and you are putting that and bringing that into yourself because the worth for yourself. And if you aren't feeling that worth yourself, if you're feeling resistant to it, if you aren't putting the energy in, then you won't get that ROI.
Let's say it in simpler terms.
Okay.
Oftentimes people want something that's free. And they want healing that's free and easy and quick. There's no quick route. I've said this quote before, but it's like, who are the people that buy the self-help books? Is the people that buy the self-help books. And if it's not working, why do they keep buying the self-help books? Well, because you're not integrating. You're not actually doing the work. And like doing the work doesn't have to be scary. Yes, it can involve tears. Yes, it can involve, but it can also be fun. It can also be an exploration of who you are. And it can be so eye-opening, and give yourself grace along it. And just understand that the time and investment that you put into yourself, you're going to see the benefits. Is there an easy way to healing? Is there? I don't know. Is there? Like, if someone knows, tell me. I'd love to see it.
No, but there's flow to healing, and you have to feel in order to heal. And life is a constant process of healing and integrating and healing and integrating. And so if there is something that you have been desiring for yourself for a long time and you don't have yet, you likely are going to need something to really shift. And you can start it on your own for sure. Start shifting your routine. Start shifting your habits. Start doing things that feel a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And then if there is a program, if there is some coaching, if there is something that has been really calling to you, like sometimes it's gotta be okay. Enough is enough with the free stuff. Like now it's time to invest in something. And I've had to do that myself before for sure, where I was realizing like, oh, like my email is, and my assistant would proclaim to this, my one email is absolutely horrific. I have 2,000 unread messages because it is all like emails from things that I've subscribed to for free in the past like 5 to 10 years. So the free stuff is awesome. The free stuff is so supportive. She's in this call right now. She's like, LOL.
You're one of those emails.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. I don't delete my emails, and I don't read my emails unless it's from clients. Anyway, all this free stuff is awesome, but it's also a testament that like, look at how many there are probably 15,000 of the 2,000 emails in there that probably have a lot of gold in it, a lot of really great support and information. But I'm also, because I'm not putting more of an investment into it, I'm not actually fully receiving the medicine from it either. So that's another perspective to consider too, is that if you're always doing the free stuff, then maybe the reason you're not seeing any big shifts or changes is because you're not actually like committing to yourself.
Yeah. It's like it's like the idea like you get what you pay for. So that energetic exchange, if it's free, then it feels free, right? Like you have to, again, think of life in terms of energetics and how does it energetically feel? Because that's how you're energetically expressing as well.
So this is something I teach in the Reiki level 1 training, because when you receive your level 1, I suggest that you don't yet pay for your services or get paid for your services, because you're not in that practitioner mode yet. There's so much more to learn from level 2, but to offer to family and friends is still going to be so supportive. It's going to help you practice. It's going to help you realize if you like it and want to do level 2 and want to do this more as something that can be like a means of bringing in more finances for you. So what I suggest people do is some sort of an exchange. And at the beginning, that exchange might just feel like your daughter drawing a cute painting for you, or a friend bringing a bouquet of flowers from her garden. But then eventually, as you practice more, as you do more, the exchange is probably going to need to be shifting and get different. And there is such an obvious energetic yes or an energetic no when that exchange doesn't feel right anymore. And so an example with a client that I have who was going through this with photography. So she's at a point where she's learning about, she is learning what style of photography she wants to lean into, what niche she wants to lean into. So she had been for about a year and a half or so, maybe even longer, doing it for exchanges and minimal exchanges. And then she got to a point recently where she set up an exchange and the exchange was not equal value. And now she's having a really slow time getting the work to the person. She's feeling really icky about it. She's not feeling good about the exchange. Therefore, she's not feeling good about her work. Like wow, like these photos are so good. I don't even want to give them to this. And because she didn't feel totally respected from the exchange. So it's really important. Like, I think that energy exchange, if finances aren't being involved, energy exchanges are awesome as long as it's valuing both individuals. So there's ways to get around this without necessarily fully investing in financially all the time. But also sometimes that edgy financial investment is what's needed to kick your butt into gear to actually receive that wisdom that you're paying for.
Do you want to share the Inspire?
That's why I'm flipping on that. Okay, so Korinna found an acronym for Inspire, which I think is just so perfect. So let's break it down a little bit, because this is really like the process of manifestation. So the I stands for intuitive, trusting your feeling, that inspired thought that comes through. That's like the first start. It's like
trusting it. Like actually trusting it. That's so key to me, because so often, think about times where you feel like you have that intuitive hit, but then you ignore it because you're like, oh, that's dumb. Oh, I've done that before. Absolutely, I've done that before.
And don't let your mind or your ego discount you. So then the next is nurturing. Fostering personal growth. Nurturing. Okay, so now the edge is coming up, and having compassion for yourself, not just running away from it, instead leaning into, ooh, why is this so edgy for me? What's this edge about? Or maybe it's you don't know what next inspired action to take. So you're like, okay, like journal it out. Ask the universe to give you another message or another sign, like nurturing the inspired action and not just rejecting the inspiration.
Love it.
Self-belief. Confidence in your abilities.
Ooh, I love this one, because what's the term when you like basically poo on yourself? You
shit on yourself.
But there's another, you undervalue your abilities.
Undermining yourself.
Yeah. But that idea of saying, oh, this isn't for me, or oh, I'm not good enough, especially when it's calling in a job. That's a good where you just, I don't know. I'm not
I could
qualified
never
enough.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I also see this oftentimes, again, like going back to that idea of the like certifications or whatever, like it was the human design expert, Zoe.
Yeah. Zoe.
She brought this up in a conversation once where she was like, just reminding people or letting people know that you don't necessarily have to be educated in something like with a certificate to be able to start doing that thing. And for sure, there's like nuances to this for sure. Like you like need to learn a little bit about Reiki before you start offering Reiki to people. However, when it comes to, let's say, meditation, you don't necessarily need a meditation course if you have been an avid meditator for the last like few years or even few months, and you are just really drawn to a particular practice of meditation or just your own practice of meditation. Our friend Samantha Pike, she's created this method. She's calling it the alignment method. She didn't do any certifications to learn this method. She's brought this method through and up herself. So we can be doing and learning these things that we don't necessarily need a certification for in order to do them. So when I hear that self-belief, I feel like it really comes into the heart chakra and the heart space. And so when you get that inspired action, or that inspiration, that intuition, come to your heart. Get clear on what your heart is saying to you. And your heart is going to either be like, yes, or it might be like a little bit like, ooh, this feels unsafe. And it's okay if it feels unsafe, but it's okay. What can I do to nourish and give myself compassion to help me believe that I can do this? And maybe that belief needs to be supported by hypnotherapy. Maybe that belief needs to be supported by a coach of some sort to help you feel strong enough to be able to offer yourself in the ways that you're feeling inspired to do. How to create greater self-belief if you feel like you're lacking that belief.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Passionate, driven by enthusiasm.
Yes, there's no better energy than, especially think about the people that you maybe come into contact with in your life where they're just so passionate about what they do, like their energy and their aura.
Just get excited about it.
Yeah.
Even though you're like, I would never do that, but whoa, I want to do that.
She's so excited. Yeah. That's the energy, right? Because that is that passion, that drive, that feel good flow energy.
That's what creates the magnetism in the first place.
Bango, bongo.
I see these really as steps, though, because if you don't have the self-belief, then that could prevent the passion. So don't get confused that if you don't have the passion, that you're not meant to move forward with the situation. It just might be that you're lacking the passion because you have self-doubt. Yeah. You have some fear of what that outcome will look like, or you're unclear of what that outcome will look like. And so you want to control the situation. And we're all wanting to control every situation, and really no one has any control. So the next one is integrated, aligning actions with values.
Yeah, we talked a lot about integration, right? Yeah. That's such a key aspect. That's when it's really about really getting into alignment with it and really calling that in. And integration is so supportive, because it really helps you feel as though.
Integration to me is the allowing your body to regulate to it. So if you're feeling stress around it, if you're feeling anxious around it, breathwork practices, yoga movements, being able to shift your belief system so that you can actually believe that you can get there, that you can have it. This is why sometimes it is helpful if it's a manifestation we have for ourselves that we might need some extra support to help with that integration. Resilient, overcoming challenges.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about inspired action and manifestation is that sometimes we think that a challenge means that a door is closing.
Yeah.
And I'm confused. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's okay. That's not meant for me. It's like at the first challenge. But oftentimes, what it is that the universe is saying, okay, are you really, how passionate and how driven and how much do you really want this?
Yeah.
When it's, you have to prove, again, yes, there's always an easy route. Of course, there's an easy route, but do you want the easy route or do you want the route that's meant for you? Do you want the thing that's genuinely meant for you? And so by doubling down again, there's just so much value to that.
And sometimes the inspired action does help course correct you. So
Yeah.
back to the example of, and this is where the resiliency comes in, back to the example of getting that inspired action to reach out to that friend. Now I had a vision. It was for promoting my workshops, and maybe there will be something that comes through with that, but that hasn't come to fruition yet. However, what I do definitely see is that it helped me to be introduced to this other person who really needed my support and who signed on to work with me. And I could have left that session or that initial conversation with the friend, and because it didn't necessarily work out how I expected, I could have had the sense of, I could have gone on to this like self-doubt spiral of what the frig was that? Why did that wasn't my intuition. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. But I had none of that. I was just like, oh, I'm so interested to see what will conspire from this, and still allowed, like I didn't shut myself down, still allowed for hope, still allowed for that potential of something to come through, which then therefore something did come through. And so sometimes too, if we don't see the thing playing out how we expect it to play out, we actually might start to block what's supposed to happen.
Yeah. And I think a lot of resiliency also has to do with right timing, that we often, especially when it comes to manifestation, we expect or we desire things now and not when they're meant to happen. And so we block ourselves because we're wanting to know the how instead of just like embodiment, right? That integration aspect. Instead of embodying, I know that one day I'm going to live on the water. Not having to worry about the how, not the when, it's going to happen when it's going to happen. That's the integration. That's the allowing the universe to do its thing. And that resiliency is that knowing. It's that I know that it's going to happen, but I'm okay. Like, I'm not going to focus on the how.
I'm okay that it's not in my reality yet.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So the last one is energized, fueled by inspiration.
Oh, I love that one. It's you're in that higher vibrational state. You're in that state of joy. You're in that state of pleasure. You're in that state of excitement. And that's a deeply magnetic place to be in. When you're living from that space day to day, one, you're deeply magnetic to other people. So more people, opportunities, life will be drawn to you, as well as you're just more on a vibrational frequency of calling what you want in, and that faith and that trust that it's going to happen. It's coming to you, and not allowing your energy to like dip because, oh, it hasn't happened yet.
It reminds me of the
fun and flow. It's fun and flow.
It reminds me of that, like what's going on right now with the concept of being delusional or being delulu, and like how it's necessary to be delulu to get what you want. And it's like, you have to start embodying and energizing that version of yourself that gets to have that, to be that. And like, when we get stuck in, we don't have it yet, that's the low vibration. That's this feeling of it's never going to come. But if you have that delusion that allows you to, and there are people in my life, my mom is one of these people for sure. Like, she is the most delusional, but she is also the best manifester. And it's like, she speaks it into existence. And sometimes you hear her and you almost are like rubbed the wrong way, because you're like, funny enough, she was just talking about this yesterday. Her first husband, when he broke up with her, I think that anyway, when they broke up, one of his things was, you see the world with rose-colored glasses. You are so much of a dreamer. And she yesterday was like, I don't see why he said that negatively. I don't see that as a problem, which is hilarious, but it's so true. And our family theme song, our entire life, my entire life, has been Dreamer by Supertramp. Like, their biggest thing was like, if you can dream it, if you can dream it, you can have it. And so you just have to be able to dream it. So sometimes too, if we're not seeing other things for ourselves, that's where you got to start. Start with that, because there is some sense of self-worth or some sense of limiting belief or lack that you can't even dream or get outside of your current reality.
That's where expanders come in.
So
you brought a different deck.
I brought a different deck. So this is a deck I've been using a lot with my one-on-one clients. And what I love about this is it's a tarot deck specifically connected to the chakras. So the Chakra Wisdom Tarot deck. I love it so much. And there's a specific spread that you can do for acknowledging like the chakra to focus on. So what I was thinking for this particularly is, let's see if there is wisdom in a particular chakra that we need to focus on right now in order to help us get to that next level. Because one thing we haven't really talked about, and this might be a segue into the next session, is how our energy system, when it's not necessarily in alignment, how it can be blocking us from our next steps. And so by knowing and starting to get clear on your energy, then it really helps to support you in knowing what it's communicating with you to. And anyway, so let's see what
I love it, because that once again is hammering home the idea of our internal aesthetic and how important it is.
So the way I do the spread, it's cool. So you pick 3 cards first, and I won't really get into detail about what all the different cards mean, but basically it's like the first card is like what like me as the reader would maybe think that we need to focus on. The second card is like what generally is coming up, but then the third card's what actually needs to be focused on. And then I do another pull with just the chakra that we need to focus on. So I won't even tell you what the first 2 are. Solar plexus. So now there's a whole bunch of yellow solar plexus cards that I'm just going to pull out here. And so the solar plexus is about our power, our sense of like our external self coming out, our confidence. And so if we are lacking this, then that is likely going to prevent us from maybe moving forward in something in the first place. And so I'll be interested to see what card we pull for this today. So now I just do a spread with just the 11 cards that are specifically focusing on that solar plexus.
So it's the 3 of Wands. Oh, look at this. I love her dress. Very beautiful.
Was it upside down or
no,
right side up? Okay, so I'll just read the 3 of Wands. So the 3 of Wands is the card of intentional thought. I told you these cards are good.
Wow.
She sends her emotional energy into the Wands crystal of manifestation. Her focus has calmed the sea of emotions surrounding her. The stars imply the magic has happened. The spell has been cast. Can you ignite all the wands and allow them to light the way to your destiny? The chakra message here. Adjust your internal thermostat in preparation for receiving what you desire. Your future is in your own hands. Direct the emotional power discovered in the prior chakra, so that would be in your sacral chakra. The emotion, that's what we're talking about, like the resistance, the fear, or maybe the excitement, like what's coming up emotionally around this, and address that. Harness transformational energy, the power of the mind, without needing external validation. Indication: do not make decisions that are overly emotional. Rein in hasty impulses. The keywords: expansion, journey, vision, cooperation, luck, magical thought. There's a little meditation here for us too. So if you want to close your eyes for a second. Imagine the glowing yellow crystal on the wand. Allow its power to ignite and energize your plan. Do you experience higher consciousness? Harnessing your inner fire is the key to visions becoming reality. It is safe to believe in yourself.
My solar plexus is on fire right now.
My hands are on fire.
So good.
So that was a really good
Yeah.
culmination of
Yeah.
that conversation.
Yes, and then all in one card.
Yeah. The one thing that came through so much too is like that sense of hastiness. Like the inspired action, it doesn't necessarily, like sometimes there will be a time constraint to it, but it's okay to wait and get yourself a little bit clearer before jumping in and doing the thing. And if you are feeling like I have to do it now, maybe that is a little bit of lack. So allow yourself to get to a point where you do feel somewhat of a sense of regulation. Yes, it will be edgy, but some sense of knowing the difference between being hasty and feeling in alignment.
Yeah. And especially again, if you're feeling like I'm unsure, just ask for another sign. Right?
Yeah.
Ask for another, okay, I'm not quite sure. May I get one more, a little bit more clear?
Yeah. And if it is like, if financial investment is the only reason for not following through with something, get creative.
Yeah.
And because that should never be an excuse.
Yeah. You are far too worthy. Far too worthy.
All right.
Okay, that was so good. Make sure you like and subscribe. So that way you never miss another episode. Ooh, that sounded very professional, the way I just said that.
I love that. I liked it. I will like and subscribe now.
Okay, bye everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.